So we've been recently we've been focusing a lot on trying to acquire as much information about the neural network as possible. Again, this is something that at Absolute we're trying to continually solidify because we think it's a very good framework to try to understand training from the neurological perspective and how we can influence the CNS. And so we've been kind of reaching out to colleagues, close colleagues that are involved in the programming of neural net training, both maximal and dynamic, and so on and so forth, just to kind of get some information about how they're doing it, when they're doing it, how often they're doing it, what sort of programming constraints are they putting on the training in terms of volume and frequency and number of repetitions and loading parameters and all of these things. Again, we're just trying to use this information specifically at Absolute to provide better information to the subscribers. So you've been the one that's kind of been most involved in discussing that with the strength coaches within the network. So yeah, I'll kind of turn it over to you, and you can talk about like different rep schemes, maybe even what's out there. And part of this discussion as well came from like personally with my son, who's um, kind of is turning 15 in a couple of weeks, which is pretty crazy. So starting to get he's starting to really kind of it's interesting because I think there's like been a switch that's kind of gone off where he's like, all right, like I've been doing his programming, so maybe maybe he doesn't like my programming anymore, but where he's like, okay, I want to kind of experiment on like a few things on my own. He's been training for a few years now, so considering like his age, he's like his training experience is a lot more in depth than a lot of other kids that are his age who maybe haven't spent a lot of time training. So I feel fully comfortable allowing him to kind of go and explore things, and he can ask always ask questions about like, what do you think about this, what do you think about that. Anyway, long story short, he came to me with some questions about the 5x5 program, and I sort of relayed those questions to you, and sort of that got us some of the discussion. So kind of putting this all together, I'll turn it over to you in terms of your thoughts on different things, on not necessarily the best way to train the neural network, but like thoughts on how training the neural network is occurring out there.
hmm Okay. This is the yeah, this is the one thing that I want to start by is also understanding that we're programming through the point B lens, which not everybody has. So like for instance, like your son and most athletes, they don't know about point B until we explain to them that there's point B out there, right? And point B
Mm-hmm.
is essentially the destination that we want to take them to training, right? So, like, neurological side of point B means that we want to have a scaled up neural network that can compress and give us the behaviors that we want, right? And so, like, we're going to use training to essentially develop that network and those different behaviors. And then those behaviors can then get practiced,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Okay. So,